Hi everyone! So today I thought I'd talk to you about some books I read in 2016. And first off, I didn't read a whole lot of new books in 2016. This was mostly due to rereading the Harry Potter series about halfway through the year. But of the new books I did read this year, here are my top 6. So these are moving towards my more favorite, but they're not in an absolute specific order. So first off is As You Wish by Carrie Yules. This is a bit autobiographical, Carrie Yules' experience filming and kind of with The Princess Bride. There are a lot of really fun behind-the-scenes facts and moments about the film, as well as you really get a sense of the camaraderie that the crew and cast and everyone felt making this movie. And in addition to writing from his perspective, Carrie also includes a bunch of quotes from other cast and crew members, as well as like the writer of the book, Princess Bride, into As You Wish. Ultimately, if you're a fan of the movie, you're gonna really get a kick out of this book. Next up is Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari and Eric Kleinenberg. I might be saying his last name wrong. Aziz Ansari wrote this book, teamed up with Eric Kleinenberg, who is a sociologist. They did a whole bunch of research, a whole bunch of interviews and surveys, as well as consulting a bunch of other experts on relationships, and especially relationships in our modern world using technology and kind of how it's changed as well as still stayed the same. Well, it's very much a social science book. Aziz Ansari approaches it with a lot of humor. It's very entertaining to read, and I was surprised by how many things I was expecting something to be one way, but then when they looked at the research and looked at interviews and talking to people, they actually found it was slightly different. So that was fun and surprising, and I think kind of no matter who you are, if you're single, if you're dating, if you're in a committed relationship, you're going to get something out of this book, and it's also just a really interesting, fun read. Next is The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. Now, first off, I have to say I've not seen the movie, so I don't know how well it lives up to the book. But the book is fantastic. It's a thriller about a girl, Mulaney, who you know something is wrong with her, and she is kept in a cell, but every day she's wheeled out by soldiers and goes to school. This book really kept me on my toes, and there are a few things that happened that I was not surprising the author to have gone there or done, but it felt correct for the characters. A small spoiler, so if you don't want to be spoiled at all for the book, skip ahead a few seconds. And when you see me waving my hands, you can unmute the video if you don't want to be spoiled. If you are a fan of zombie books, movies, etc., you're probably going to really like this. And this is a slightly different new take on zombies, which I really liked. It wasn't kind of the typical zombie book. Alright, so you can come back. We're done with spoilers. Next up is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Oh, this book. Oh, it was so good, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil this at all. This was one of those books that I couldn't put down. I think I read it in like a weekend or something where I was just like every free moment I was like, okay, let me read the book. Let me sit here and read this book. This is a book that it slowly unravels, and you're slowly finding out what happened and all of the relationships between the characters, and it's so good. That's all I'm gonna say. Next up is Buffering: Untold Stories of a Life Fully Loaded by Hannah Hart. If you watched My Drunk Kitchen, you know Hannah Hart, and this is a really honest collection of narrative essays about her life. There were so many things that Hannah wrote about and ways she worded stuff that really struck home with me. This is just such an open, honest book. It's about kind of this whole wide range of stuff. It's just a really, really touching book. And the final book, probably my top book, is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. If you're a fan of media, books, movies, films about people with supernatural abilities, this is going to be right up your alley. And if you aren't a fan of those books, it's still a fantastic thriller. This is another non-linear story. It's about Eli and Victor, who were college roommates. At the start of the book, you know that Victor has just gotten out of prison and he's after Eli. He wants revenge. And as you go through the book, it slowly unravels what happened to them, how they got these abilities, what the abilities are, as well as unraveling why Victor wants this revenge. It's one of those books where there were times where it was like, I don't exactly know who I'm rooting for, because the protagonist isn't exactly a good person, but Eli, who's the antagonist, isn't a good person either. And it's a really well done book. It was hard to put down, and I'm looking forward to reading more V.E. Schwab, a new author that I really enjoy. All right, so those are my top 6 books that I read in 2016. If you've read any of those books, tell me about what you thought about them down in the comments. And if you have any book recommendations for me to read in 2017, I am hoping to read more new books in 2017 than I did in 2016, and I'm always looking for new and interesting books and authors. I will see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye!